Good morning, or as the case may be, good afternoon, and welcome to Distribution Strategy Group's Best Practice Studies on the state of distributor pricing and costing. Today, we're going to hear from Gregory Smith, CEO of G Group Holdings, an expert in both pricing, costing, and cost to serve. And we're going to hear descriptively what people are doing in the industry, also what's happening with pricing and tariffs. And then finally, he's going to be sharing best practices in pricing garnered from his extensive experience there. But first, we have a couple of announcements. First of all, I wanted to let you know, coming up, we have the biggest and bestest AI show in distribution, June 24 to 26 in Chicago. And if you're not yet thinking about AI or you're wanting to learn how this may apply to your business, this is definitely the place to come. We've got topics including how to deliver real value with AI, including ROI on that value, looking at putting AI and humans alongside one another. And we're going to hear from 25 different AI-enabled distribution technology companies. There will be speed networking as well. Some of our speakers and panelists include Noel Russell, Trent Gillespie, both very well known in the AI world. From within distribution, Don Sarno from Sonopar, Janet Zelenka, award-winning CFO and CIO and board member, Paul Kennedy from Dakota Supply, Tracy Duell from Bostwick Braun, Deanna Stanton, also formerly from Stericycle, and then Jamie Head from Partstown Unlimited. So there are a few slots left. I think we're at about 250 people attending from distribution, but there are a few slots left. Don't hesitate to click on the link there. Next, I wanted to talk about an offering. Let's see. I want to talk about an offering from Distribution Strategy Group called Demand RX. If you've ever wondered how much your customers are spending in total on products that you sell, or want to know in particular how much are they buying approximately of certain product categories, Demand RX is the offering that will help you understand where customers are spending, where the gaps are, and where you have opportunities to grow wallet share. In addition, our product has about 52 million companies in it. We can create an ideal customer profile and then go after a targeted set of prospects. If you're interested in learning more about Demand RX, how it can apply for you, whether it feeds into the CRM you're using, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And now I would like to welcome Michelle Graham from Epicor.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much. We're happy to be a sponsor today for this webinar. And Epicor is here for the hardworking businesses that make, move, and sell. When it comes to the move, we've been in the industry for over 50 years. We know your world, we understand your challenges, and we can help you solve them. In fact, when we typically ask new customers why they chose us, the thing that they say the most is that we get them. And our software is the best fit for what they do right out of the box. And it's also my pleasure to introduce Gregory Smith, who again will be digging into the current state of distributor costing and pricing. We know from experience that there's no greater profit lever you can pull for your business than a disciplined pricing strategy. And recent research shows that most distributors either charge customers too little or they charge them too much for the products that they buy, and both have pitfalls. At Epicor, we help distributors use analytics and AI to simplify the task of getting the prices you charge closer to their optimal level. Our solutions provide both SKU-specific price optimization for low sensitivity, bottom vendor products, and strategic pricing for every transaction based on both customer and product sensitivity. So today, as you listen to our webinar, think about your technology plans for 2025, keep Epicor in mind, and if you're in the market for new tools to support your growth or you're hoping to learn more, we'd love to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And also thank you for sponsoring the AI conference in 2 weeks. You all have been a sponsor since the very beginning. We look forward to seeing you there.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Okay, I'd like to introduce Greg Smith to talk to us about the state of pricing and costing. And I'll say, as Greg comes on, we do welcome questions. There's a Q&A button at the bottom. I do request that if you're going to pose a question that you're not posing as anonymous, that we can see who you are. I'm not going to announce it, but I want to make sure that we can see who you are. But we do like to get questions. We'll try to answer them in the moment if possible. We may defer them until later. Greg, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you? Good
I think it's
morning.
I think it's a great day to discuss pricing and costing.
It's always a great day to discuss pricing and costing and profitability within distribution. So every day is a good day to do that. So should we get started?
Yes,
All right.
let's get started.
Let me share my screen, see if I can do this without messing it up. Let's see.
We've only been using Zoom for 5 years, right?
I know, I know, right? You would think so. Yes, you would think so. Of course, the problem is you bounce back and forth between platforms and they
Yes,
never seem to line up. All right, so I assume you can see my full screen.
good to go.
All right, there we go. So yeah, Jonathan, you mentioned the survey that we did again this year, right? So a lot of the results that we're looking at are comparative 24 to 25. So I think there's some interesting outcomes here that are certainly worth talking about. And as get this one. Can you guys, my screen is not moving. Why do I have a problem?
We switch over and I'll.
Oh, hang on. There we go. That work?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. So pricing effectiveness, right? This kind of split. So again, I think this is interesting, very effective. You folks responded and said at 118% over 2024, a very effective outcome of your pricing. And then ironically, conversely, you 225% said they had an ineffective response to any type of pricing program that they put together. Right. So obviously what we can gather here is pricing maturity, right, is increasingly polarized depending on the distributor. And a lot of the information we're going to dig in today kind of talks about best practices and how we can make sure that if you're a distributor that is putting together a profitability plan or matrix pricing plan, that you actually get the results that you want to get. Because there are a few key kind of processes and things that we recommend you do, and if you do that, you're a winner. The bottom one here, which I thought was interesting, which I'm wonderfully excited about, which is that limited cost visibility of 92% increase over 2024 results. I've been beating this drum for a while. We'll talk about this in future slides, but limiting who actually sees your actual landed cost is crucial to any type of a pricing project. So 92% of respondents said they've started to limit that. And other distributors that I talk to on a daily, weekly basis, they've done the same thing. So there's variations to it that we can get into. But anyway, that's a very positive trend from my perspective. Cost reduction tactics, right? New pricing strategies implemented, up 74% over 2024. That's great. Margin protection remains priority, right? Especially amid freight and tariff volatility. So everybody seems to be concerned about it. That's good. The question is, what are they doing about it? KPI payoffs, right? So SPA software non-users is up 36%. So SPA meaning just some type of a special pricing arrangement or some type of pricing software is up 36% of non-users. KPI users are down 13%. Now, again, I think what's important here is though, for those who do use KPIs, which we'll dig into and talk about, they're seeing 2 to 3 bips higher in EBIT margin, which is what I see on a regular basis. So that kind of identifies and support the importance of using KPIs in any type of a matrix pricing project. New initiative results, you're right, fast track pricing plots, already boosting margins. Again, this one, the second one here is kind of interesting. Best teams cut quote cycle time by 20%. You kind of started the conversation on your AI conference coming up. I think from an AI perspective, helping distributors quote projects, not stock and flow, but projects, is going to be I think a key feature at some point in the future, because every distributor struggles with how do we quote a project, a large bill of material, large BOM.
So Greg, do you feel that the pricing software systems that are out there are better oriented towards flow/MRO than they are towards pricing for projects?
Absolutely. And there's very few, and the ones that are out there that I've seen are extremely expensive, that address the quoting aspect of pricing. A lot of people talk about it, but no one's been able to kind of do it yet. So it's coming. It's just not there yet. And I think that's probably a big win for distribution at some point in the next 5 years. That will happen. And then a culture shift towards data-driven decision-making versus gut. That's been in the works for a while. That seems to continue, which is, I think, important. Tariff freight cost pass-throughs, 48% fully passed tariff and freight cost to customers. That's good. That number should be higher. 40% only partially pass it through, and 6% absorb the cost. And it, maybe varies by customer. So some customers, they pass it along. Other customers, they keep it. So, or they absorb it, eat it, so to speak. So I thought that was interesting. So now, as that was our survey, Jonathan, was there anything else from the survey that you wanted to point out or focus on? We kind of did a high level because of our time commitment, but
No, that's fine. I think let's just, if you could go back a slide, let's play forward on the tariff piece.
this one here.
Okay, so I've got $1,000 product and there's a 25% tariff. Take me through the three scenarios of fully pass through, preserving the gross margin, and eating it. What it means to my gross margin. So let's say I've got a 25% tariff and a 25% gross margin on a $1,000 product. What happens in the case where I fully pass it through? How much gross profit dollars do I have on that $1,000 product?
Well, I think, what's interesting here, what we should be doing is focusing on the gross margin percent.
Yep.
Because ideally what you want to do is you want to keep the gross margin percent the same. You don't want that to suffer as you're either increasing your cost or you're passing these tariff costs onto your customer, right? So using your example, $1,000 item, 25% tariff, roughly it's $1,250 is now your landed cost for that product.
So my gross profit goes up to $312 from $250 on that
Yes,
scenario, right?
that's exactly right. Keeping your gross margin the same.
Okay.
Gross margin percent the same. So you increase your gross margin dollars.
Okay, keeping my gross profit dollars the same. What does that look like? So I've got a 25%. So the cost to me is now on my $1,000 product is now $937 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
So then the total price to the customer is about $1,180, right? So to pass it all the way through, it's a $1,250 price. Preserve my gross profit dollars, it's an $1,180 price, and eat it.
Yeah.
I'm break even.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're not making any money.
I'm not making any money. So I think those really correspond to the three scenarios here, right, Greg?
Yes. And so I was talking with a customer a couple weeks ago, and I've seen this happen a couple different ways, but some folks are taking that tariff cost and applying it towards their landed cost, which then impacts their price matrix, which I think is the right way to do it. Because again, they preserve the gross margin percent, they get more gross margin dollars, and the customer kind of pays the full fare, if you will, of that tariff. But I've had other customers tell me that they're not putting it into their landed cost. They're treating it as a separate P&L expense because they feel it's temporary, and leaving the matrix, kind of leaving their cost basis alone and the matrix alone. And then under those scenarios, they're eating that cost, right? Because they say that, well, we're going to get some extra gross margin. We're going to raise our gross margin percent to kind of cover some of that, but ultimately they don't end up doing it, or the sales overrides it, and so they just never materialize it. So be careful how you record those freight, those tariff costs. My opinion, they should be tied to a landed cost of the product and pass through. Now, I realize if you have contracts and stuff like that, it's difficult to do, but where there's no contracts tied to it, then you should try to do that.
What's the psyche of the company that does fully pass, the psyche of the company that preserves the gross profit, the psyche of the company that eats the cost? Take us through.
This is what's going to get me in trouble. This conversation is not good for me.
Okay. Okay.
Because here's the reason why. So companies that are focused on profitability, they're professionally run, they're focused on EBITDA, next generation, cash flow, all that stuff, are enforcing the tariff pass-through at 90 to 100%. Those organizations that lean towards letting the sales team kind of run the business, and I'm trying to choose my words carefully, those organizations are struggling because most of the tariff is being absorbed by the company, not by the customer.
Okay, so in that sales run scenario, the salesperson wants the deal.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're uncomfortable. They think it.
Yes.
They believe there's elasticity in the price,
Yes.
and they're not going to fully pass it through.
Yes. In reality, they're going from, let's say, an average of 35% gross margin, they're going down to 25, 26, 27, 28, depending on the tariff impact, which is, all over the place. Yeah. Anything else?
Let's keep you out of trouble. Let's move on.
Thank you. So here's where we are right now as of today, right? So if you look across all the different countries where we have tariffs, including China, which is still the highest. China is effectively about a 52 to 52.5% tariff impact in China. But if you look at it kind of globally, it's around 18% average tariff rate. We've got some volatility in our freight, whether it's shipping, air, whatever the case may be. So these are things you got to be cognizant of and make sure that you're reacting to them as they impact your business. Again, not all products are impacted by tariffs, right? So know which products are. Look for other sources, supply chains that maybe are less impactful on the tariff side, or have zero impact, right? Made in America kind of stuff. So just be aware of it. So this was interesting. This is all four of these companies obviously are public companies. So this is just information that is easily obtainable. But I thought it was interesting, right? As we look at Q1 2025 and the impact of tariffs on these four companies, right? So Grainger here is one of the winners, right? They're up 30 bips year over year to 39.7% gross margin. Wesco flat gross margin, and Fastenal held margins. They're kind of flat too, held margins by diversifying sourcing, right? To the point I made before, and increasing digital sales, which is now 61% of revenue. MSC is obviously the one that struggled. There may be some contracts tied to MSC business and all that, which I understand, but I also know there's, acts of God and all of those contracts. So, but anyway, MSC is down about 50 bips, gross margin squeeze from poor tariff pass-through discipline. So there's a good example, right, of Grainger, who seems to be doing it right, and then MSC, who seems to be struggling with tariffs.
Interesting piece here on that. So the aluminum and steel tariff is going to hit um, all of these to a significant extent, but I would think
Yeah,
most significantly it would be MSC and Grainger.
true. Yeah,
So it's interesting that there's different outcomes.
right.
We've done a lot of work with the Industrial Supply Association. A lot of their members are dependent on tools that have a lot of aluminum and some steel in them. And companies that are in that sector are getting hit pretty hard. That would include a Grainger as well as an MSC by the tariff.
Mm.
So looks like Grainger has managed it well.
Yes, it appears to be the case. So this is off our survey as well. 31% buffer cost for select manufacturers and product lines, 19% buffer cost across categories, right? Product categories, and then 38% enter current cost only, right? 12% is unsure. So that 38%, if I'm understanding their comments right, goes to my point of they're not carrying the extra cost, the landed cost, right, which includes tariffs. And in theory, that should be the case. But it looks like a significant number aren't doing that. All right. So again, a couple more slides here as we talk about tariffs. And dynamic pricing as we think about tariffs and how do we protect our margins, right, in this kind of tariff world. Dynamic pricing, which we don't use from the perspective of it's not necessarily dynamic. Perhaps our industry will get there at some point. Other industries like the hotel industry and the airline industry and others use dynamic pricing. I don't know that we'll get there, but we may get to some version of that at some point in the future. But there's, when I say dynamic pricing, meaning make sure that you're updating your costs. If your matrix is tied to your cost, and a lot of them are, it's either going to be tied to your cost or it's going to be tied to a list price. In either case, make sure that your landed cost, which includes tariffs, is updated so that your pricing changes. Right, gross margin stays the same, gross margin percent stays the same, you increase gross margin dollars, and ultimately your sell price is higher. So make sure that tariff cost is added to your landed cost. That ultimately is kind of dynamic pricing. And if you are doing a discount off list, make sure that list price is updated to reflect any additional cost basis so that you're not losing gross margin percent. Right. With your suppliers, make sure you're talking about rebates, discounts, forward buys. Hey, if I buy this much volume, can you mitigate some of that tariffs? Can you eat some? I'll eat some, that kind of stuff, right? So make sure you're talking to your suppliers about, what do they see down the road for tariffs? How much are they being impacted? What's the net on the tariff? And is there any negotiation there? Or, a lot of manufacturers are passing through 100%, others are eating some of it. So it really depends on the manufacturer. So make sure you're having those conversations with the manufacturer. Whether you're going to ship it via boat, if you will, ship or air. Sometimes you can look at high volume, high margin, lightweight products that are frankly more economical to ship via air than it is to wait 45 days to have it come over on a boat. So make sure you're exploring options if you're importing products in. And then value-added services. This has been a drum that I've been beating for a while now, and I still believe that at some point in the near future, 20% of distribution revenue's got to come from value-added services. And so the more you can provide that value-added service, whether it's kitting, whether it's job handling, whether it's mod shops, putting whips together, whatever it is, training, whatever it is you want to do. But your ability to do that, execute on it, charge for it, I think is going to be key to helping you manage your EBITDA and obviously your margin dollars.
Greg, just a quick comment on the dynamic pricing.
Hmm.
So some of the systems that you've been involved with do the matrix updates annually, semi-annually, maybe quarterly. But I think one of the movements in recent years, particularly with the pricing companies that are focusing on, medium to large enterprise, is dynamic pricing. I'm not talking about like airline or hotel, but dynamic
Yeah.
pricing, meaning where that matrix gets updated much, much more frequently, is a thing. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the company in terms of whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. Because ultimately, if you think of a traditional pricing company, really what the analysis they're doing is customer sizing, customer type, and product sensitivity.
Mhm.
So and really at the end of the day, customer types don't change a lot. Customer sizing doesn't really change a lot. Product sensitivity doesn't change a lot unless you're in the midst of some technology change, like fluorescent LED back in the day, that kind of stuff, right? But product sensitivity doesn't change very fast. It certainly can change over a year, but it doesn't change very fast. So for me, if you did it twice a year, great. Once a year, twice a year is probably better. But for me, it's whatever that matrix is tied to, whether it's a list price or it's cost. As long as cost is getting updated to reflect true landed cost and perhaps a puffing factor we'll talk about, as long as that's happening, you ultimately end up with dynamic pricing. So, because that matrix now is moving because of the cost basis it's tied to.
Got it.
So to me, that's more important than necessarily updating the analysis in terms of whether, product category sensitivity has changed. Make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Uh, So, as we talk about having a successful matrix initiative, at the end of the day, there's really of the companies that try it and really dedicate to it, there's 20% that succeed and 80% just fall short. I hate to use the word fail, but they fall short of expectations. And it really boils down to understanding the implications, right, of this matrix project. Frankly, leadership is key to making a matrix pricing project work. Follow through is key. Accountability, again, from the CEO down, and then involving the salespeople in the process. So this is a slide that I've used and other folks have used. I won't spend a lot of time on it. It's really, it's kind of in your face from the perspective of most people know this, right? So your most economical and easy path to growing EBITDA is to increase sell price. Yes, you can work on reducing your cost of goods. Yes, you can work on selling more stuff. But selling more stuff alone doesn't get you the same result as just increasing your sell price. So you can see here, you got a 50% increase. If you increase your selling price, by 50%, then you've got a 2% increase. Sorry, yeah, or 50% increase in EBITDA by a 2% increase in sell price. Sorry, I misspoke. I've done this slide so many times, I know it by heart, but, and then, 15% increase in volume, 2%. So there's the biggest driver you have is by increasing your sell price. So if you think about pricing strategy alignment, some key questions. It's all about data-driven insights, strategic pricing, sensitivity and inventory, segment-based pricing, optimally managed spas. We're not going to spend a lot of time today talking about spas, but spas are if handled correctly, and distribution kind of falls on the fence. Some say it's not worth it, right? It's not worth all the work. There are companies out there now that can help you manage that process. Others swear by it. I'm of the belief that if you manage them correctly, they can be a huge gross margin win, and revenue win, and customer engagement win, and customer stickiness win. There's a lot of pluses to utilizing spas if you do them correctly. And again, that's a whole nother session. Controlling overrides, big. Align comp, right, with profitability, making sure the sales team is compensated fairly and correctly for the business that they write and for the gross margins that they generate. And processes to protect the margins, and then ultimately the KPIs, right, measuring the performance. Strategic pricing matrix, right? I think the key here is just to understand this is a journey. It's not an episodic event. So you're going to start today, and it's going to take, it never ends. It's kind of like building an e-commerce site. A lot of folks think, well, we built the e-commerce site, now we're done. No. That's when the work starts, right? By the marketing team, the sales team, and others. And price matrixing is the same process, right? So you can build out the matrix. That's the somewhat easy part, right? You can implement it, all that, but the heavy lifting starts after you go live. And we're going to talk a little bit about puffing factors, cost of goods view, all that stuff. Again, some of the key pitfalls here is sales overrides. You got to be careful. You got to be monitoring overrides. You've got to have tough conversations with sales folks who are abusing the override privilege, all that stuff. What we've done through literally thousands of distributor data points is understand that most sales folks, their gross margin ends in zeros and fives. It's never 22.3. It's always 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So you got to be cognizant of that. You got to be aware of it so that you can address it. Cost plus versus list down. Most distributors, a lot of distributors use cost plus, which is fine. But what our data shows is if you actually switch to list down, you increase your EBITDA by somewhere around 100 to 150 basis points. And some have seen even higher results. And it's just because of the different conversation that you're having with your customer and that your salespeople are having with their focus isn't on what you paid for it. The focus is what's the discount off list. So it's a different conversation. So by utilizing that, distributors are seeing higher margins and higher EBITDA. Incorrect product sell groups. If you've got a matrix in place, you've got product sell groups that are tied to that matrix, making sure that each product within that sell group aligns with that matrix gross margin percent. So you got to make sure you do that. A lot of times on the data that I've seen, the vast majority of product sell groups are incorrect. So you got products in that sell group that are being sold at 18% margin, and you got products in that same cell group that are being sold at 45% margin, and the matrix is set at 22 or 23. So therefore you've got some overrides happening within that cell group, both down and up, and you're also losing margin because sales team is told not to override whether it's up or down, so they just let it go through. But you could be getting extra margin on their product, so make sure your cell groups are correct. Good, better, best. Pricing is another kind of tool, if you will, if you want. There are software companies out there that essentially provide that good, better, best pricing and some guidance for sales teams. Instead of just, hey, this is the price, use it. No. Here's a green, red, yellow, based on volume, based on other criteria, and then maybe the customer status. You can use one of these three prices versus having to use this one. So you still give the sales team some flexibility, but you're also controlling the process more than you might normally be. And then price change, lockouts. Again, it goes back to kind of the authority level. You've got my belief is some folks within distribution shouldn't be authorized to change price. period. We did this with counter people years ago. I thought I was going to get a backlash. Instead, I had counter people come up to me and thank me because they didn't want to do it anyway. They just felt pressured by the customer to do it. And we gave them the speech and they said, hey, we're not allowed to change price, but if you want to talk about this price, then, go speak to Joe and your inside sales agent. And 9 out of 10 times the customer just said, no, it's okay. I just thought I'd ask. And they walked out the door. So there's some opportunity there. And I see my slide, the best part of my slides cut off, but so let's talk about the, I do think that if you're doing a pricing project, someone has to be responsible for it. And that person needs to have direct access to the CEO. It can't be someone who reports to some lower level person, right? They need to report to a C-level person at the very least. My preference is they should report directly to the CEO. That's how much visibility and frankly clout that person needs. Now, I have to tell you, it's a crappy job. It really is. You're in a no-win situation if you manage or run or be responsible for pricing within a company. You put your flat jacket on, and it's a tough job because you're getting hit from all angles, right? You're being told you can't. Hey, I can't sell because you're not giving me the right price, and you're just always no one ever calls up and says, hey, that was a great price and you were spot on and I made the sale, right? It just doesn't happen. But anytime they lost a sale because of you hear about it. So it's a tough position, but it's a worthy one, and one that I'm seeing in more and more distribution companies than ever before. So pricing strategies, right? So non-stock products, this is a big one. I think a lot of distributors miss. If I were you, my takeaway today would be put a rule in your business, change it within your ERP system, whatever you can do. Add 50, 500 basis points, add 500 basis points to all your non-stock product sales. And you won't lose any sales and you'll pick up some gross margin dollars quickly. If you measure and look at your non-stock sales going through your facility, most are going to be at the same gross margin, average gross margin that you're at for normal stock, or it's going to be 2 or 3 points higher. My feeling is that it should be at least 10 to 15, maybe 20 points higher. Right. So if your average is 27, 28, 29% gross margin, non-stock should be closer to 40, 45 because of the cost to serve on all non-stock products. And that's frankly an area that most distributors miss as an opportunity to grow gross margin dollars.
Greg,
yeah.
Greg, how does that square with your comment about 5,500 basis points? You're saying 10 to 15 points. How does that score with your 5,500 basis point number? Is that just an average?
On the screen, it's actually meant to be 500 basis points.
Okay.
Yeah. So 5%. Add 5%. So if you're currently charging 30% average, I would make it 35% average.
Got it. Okay.
Right. Now, obviously, you can weigh that with the cost of the product. So if a non-stock item costs $5,000, obviously you're not going to try to get 50% margin. If you can, great, go for it. But if a product costs $1.10, then yeah, go find another 500 basis points to add to it, if not more. C&D items, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but make sure you're grouping your products into group A, B, C, D. You can do it as simple as just 25% each. You can get more complicated if you want, depending on whether you're trying to create your own matrix or if somebody else is doing it. But it's important to group products based on kind of sensitivity in the marketplace. Selective price increases. You can, what I've seen companies do is, they get fed up one day and they said, okay, just add, 300 basis points to all of our products. Just raise their prices immediately. Just raise 300 basis points or 500 basis points to everything. The challenge with that is you're doing that to sensitive products and non-sensitive products. So to the non-sensitive products, that's fine. But you're also doing it to A items and double A items that you sell every day that the customer understands what the price is. So you've got to be careful. You just can't do a blanket approach, a bit of a scalpel hill, not a chainsaw. And you got to be selective on your price increases. Again, I'm talking non-tariff increase. I'm just talking matrix price increases. And then the final one there is lock pricing, right? Limit override by percentage. So as I said before, maybe some folks don't have access to change pricing. Others might be able, maybe they can change it 10%. Then they have to get some other authority level. So the more you can kind of put guardrails around the sales team, the more control you have and the higher margins you're going to receive. So we talked about this. I won't belabor this, but I've literally looked at thousands of distributors' data, and every time, 90% of them are end in zeros and fives. So just be cognizant of that, and that's behavior that you want to change because you're missing gross, excuse me, missing gross margin dollar. Again, as we think about customers, so if you think about a kind of a traditional price matrix, which is really kind of three-dimensional, it's customer type, size, and product sensitivity. So this chart here represents customer sizing. Again, you can do the same thing, you know, small customers to large customers, huge, however you want to divide them up, quintile, quartile, whatever you want to do there. But this chart, which again represents any type of engagement I've had, and I run this initial data, this comes out almost identical every single time, which is, as you think about that, the one on the left-hand side, the one represents kind of the average price for this product. And all these dots are customers. So as you go to the far right, you've got a lot of large customers that are paying pretty average pricing. No surprise there. Most of your large customers might be tied to an outside salesperson. There's more discipline there. There's all that, might be contracts, all that stuff kind of can apply. But where the profit leak occurs is on the far left, where you've got a lot of smaller customers getting lower pricing than even the larger customers. And that all boils down to discipline, right? Making sure you're monitoring it, and you're holding salespeople accountable. You know, all these dots should be moved up. As you move those dots up, then obviously your index of 1, which is the average, then also moves up. So these are things you got to be careful of and watch out for, because it happens all the time. So again, if we think about product sensitivity, you know, A is the highest sensitivity, high visibility with your customer base. B is also a high sensitivity, but a little bit less. And, you know, you might have some purchasing agents involved that are monitoring all that stuff. And then you get down to C and then D, right, which is the lowest sensitivity, where you can make a lot of your margin is on the D's, C's, and B's, understanding that on the A's, you got to be more sensitive in terms of what your price elasticity is. And again, this all varies based on the customer you're selling to. So a item for customer A is different than an A item for customer D. All right, so just understanding that correlation helps you then build out that matrix. This is just another example of product sensitivity, like we looked at customers, right? A product sensitivity. Again, the same thing. One is the average price of that product, and black is you know, super an A type of product, very sensitive in the marketplace. And then over here, as we get down into here, the gray is a type D product. And again, what you see here is very undisciplined with the B's, mostly C's and D's. You get undisciplined pricing. So you've got products that are being sold below average price, right, all the time. And it just, again, it boils back to having some discipline and controls put in place that prevent this from happening, because this is all margin leakage right here. Puffing. So As you think about your cost basis, and you can do puffing a couple different ways, and Epicor actually has a module for this, but if you think about puffing, you can do it based on the cost of goods. You can do it based on the list price, right? Depending on how you're actually achieving your matrix price. But essentially, if you puff based on product sensitivity, it allows you to get a sliver of additional margin dollars. The margin percent stays the same, but margin dollars by puffing your cost basis, as I said, or your list basis, just fractions, right? And this is a nickel dime game. It really is. It's about finding that slices of profitability without disrupting your, while still growing revenue, right? Increasing revenue, and having it be kind of blind, if you will, to your customers. So, what are some of the benefits of this? Obviously, is you're talking about a small margin premium, typically applied to low ticket items, right? The B, C's, and D items. You get increased revenue, increased gross margin. You get all that stuff by adding in a puffing factor. And so here's just a good example, right? So under current state, the item costs $10. You did 25% markup, right? Salesperson did. You sold for $12.50. Well, you took a look at this item and you determined this item was, let's say, a D item or a C item, and your cost basis is still $10, but you did a puffing factor of 50 cents, right, or 500 basis points on that product because, again, it's a CD item, doesn't cost a lot. So now your margin dollars that you generated were $2.63 versus the $2.50 you did originally. So you picked up an extra 63 cents in incremental margin. Doesn't sound like much, but when you do this across tens of thousands of transactions, a dime here, quarter here, whatever, it all adds up to significant dollars. So as you think about your cost basis, as you think about your list price, think about adding a puffing factor on those non-sensitive products. I wouldn't do it to commodities. I wouldn't do it to A items, even though some distributors do. But on your B's, C's, and D's, B's, maybe you do a half a point. On your C's, maybe you do 200 basis points on products that cost less than X. And on D's, maybe you do 500-600 basis points. I've seen distributors do 1,000 basis points on D's and not skip a beat. So it's really based on your comfort level, your customer base, and the products you sell. So let's talk about cost to serve. We've got a few minutes left here. I want to kind of keep going. You can't, and this has been around for a long time. I remember talking about this 30 years ago, right? How do we measure cost to serve? There's a complicated way and a non-complicated way. I always recommend the non-complicated way because when I've seen distributors go down the complicated way, what I call this rabbit hole, it never gets done, right? They talk about it forever. They start to figure out what to measure, how to measure, and all the other stuff. Other folks get involved, and then you get on this rabbit hole where you can't get to the number. So my suggestion here is keep it simple. Directionally, it'll be correct. And it'll give you the information you need. But understanding your customer's cost to serve will help you optimize your profitability, obviously your EBITDA. Knowing which companies that you do business with add to your EBITDA and which companies subtract from it. So I think here's a good example of this. Randy at Waypoint Analytics does a great whale curve analysis of this. And he's been doing this for a long time. Kudos to Randy. But at the end of the day, here's what it boils down to. 20% of your customers generate between 1.5 and 2 times your current EBITDA. So if your current EBITDA is, say, 4%, you're generating that 20% of customers are generating for you somewhere around 6 to 8% EBITDA. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum, you got 20% of customers that are subtracting from your EBITDA. So they're actually bringing you down to where you currently sit at 4%. Right. And then you got 60% that's in the middle that doesn't add or subtract. So as you look at customer profitability and you start to measure it, the key is to obviously take the 20%, mitigate those as much as you can, either by you got to buy electronically through e-commerce site. We're going to remove the outside salesperson. We're going to raise pricing. I don't recommend firing, but in some cases, maybe you want to fire somebody, right? All that stuff needs to happen. And then on the 60%, moving those to the 20% that actually make you money. Your ability to do that impacts your EBITDA significantly. So understanding your customer's cost to serve is crucial, I believe. And so this goes back to that conversation, right? So I've seen distributors that have spent years trying to calculate cost to serve, and they never do. And I've had others do it essentially on a bar napkin, within a day, and directionally they're correct. Yeah, you're going to have, that doesn't apply here, it doesn't apply here. You're going to end up with all that stuff, right? Once you start to show this data to the sales team. But just keep pushing. Directionally, we're correct. And this information will help us make better decisions in terms of how we engage with this customer and what, frankly, the pricing model needs to be. If you've got a customer that's got a high cost to serve because the customer wants, 5 deliveries a day and this and that, and wants us to package this and package that, then you got to get paid for it. And if you don't measure that, you don't know. You think you can assume you can assume you're doing okay. Hey, I'm making 30 points or 40 points on this guy. I'm making a ton of money. Usually the data doesn't prove out what your gut is telling you. So understand the data, dig in, understand it, keep it a high level. And we can certainly share some, if anybody's interested, we certainly can share some kind of top level analysis that you can do to get you directionally correct. So, driving matrix pricing objective, engage the sales team. You got to do that. You got to train the sales team. You got to train, frankly, senior leadership. You got to explain the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we engaging on a price matrix project? And the number one complaint from customers, generally speaking, is not your price is too high. It's inconsistent pricing. And that's all driven by discipline, right? One day they get $1, the next day they get $1.10, next week they get 98 cents. That's what pisses off customers. So you need to be aware of that. Continuous improvement, feedback, you got to do that. Have at least monthly meetings with a team of folks to talk about what's working, what's not working, what do we need to change. It's not, as I said, the work starts once you put the matrix in place. You got to measure it, you got to change it, you got to update it. This is wrong, that's wrong. There's a million different scenarios. Literally probably 5 to 10 million different pricing permutations. They're not all going to be correct, even if you hire an outside company to do that. Some of that stuff you're going to pick up in the beginning, others you're not. So it constantly has to be reviewed and updated. Look where the overrides are coming from, fix it so that the overrides can be reduced. Structured rollout plan, transparency. You got to have some change champions that are tied to this. And it's got to be some ownership there. Share some early success stories, coaching and mentoring, peer mentoring, right? If you've got a person that's really kind of jumped onto the matrix bandwagon and they're seeing some great results, make sure that they are peer mentoring others who perhaps maybe aren't having the same results or struggling with adopting the matrix. And why, incentives and recognition are a huge piece of this. ROA is, in my world, is ratio of attainment. How close are they to adopting the price matrix plan? KPIs are very important. We saw from the first slide, those that are using KPIs are seeing 200 to 300 basis points pickup. That's extremely important. And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Greg, we had one more
Cool.
question back on the dynamic pricing before
Okay.
we wrap up here. So, person mentions about the dynamic pricing. My sense is the more advanced AI-based dynamic pricing tools bring, or at least can bring, they can bring in much more data, including unstructured data such as sentiment data. I will add in supply chain availability, other macroeconomic factors. AI is making them significantly more powerful than how they were described on this call. So I think the comment is about
Hmm.
I focused on the frequency of updating the matrix. This person's suggesting or saying that there's other stuff besides doing it more frequently. Could you comment on that?
Yeah. No, he's absolutely right. The question is the industry going to adopt it? That's the question. I don't disagree. I agree with everything he said. You got all those different dynamics that should go into dynamic pricing, right? What's the availability of the product? Do you have it? Do you not have it? Does the manufacturer have it? Is there a shortage of product, right? Shortage of resin, shortage of this, like what happened during COVID, right? All these kind of macro and micro scenarios should go into the price of the product. I'm sitting here today. I'm just not sure, and maybe the question is when, not if. Dynamic matrix pricing will be adopted within B2B distribution, right? Again, I think it's great. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get there. I'm just not sure when.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Greg, thank you as
talking point.
always for imparting so much practical wisdom on pricing and costing. Look forward to future
Yeah,
collaborations.
yeah, same here. Thank you very much.
So two things I wanted to add. Next week, same time, same channel, fixing the data problem, building a digital supply chain that works. We're going to have Patrick Knight, the president and CEO of IDEA, and they've been right in the middle of the product data world for about 20 years now. So definitely there will be interesting things to impart there. That is sponsored by Epicor and by White Cup. And then the week after that, we're back to AI News and Gurus on the 19th. I'm sorry, that's a day later. So that's a week from tomorrow. Excuse me. A week from tomorrow, AI News and Gurus with Brian Hopkins and Brooks Hamilton. Thank you all for attending today. You will receive a recording of the presentation probably within about 24 hours, and wishing you all the best in your pricing and costing journeys. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.